I was once in Yash, and in the university discussing something 10 years ago, and I illustrated it by breaking from my English voice into my American voice. And I started to talk like this. I told Radu about this, and he said immediately, yeah, I understand that much better than I understand when you're talking like a Brit. After the lecture, or the discussion, a young woman, she was a student then, she's now mother of 3 children, called Mihaila. Ciao mare, Dana. Mihaila came up and said, Ian, I never understood what you were saying until you started to talk like an American. So this is the first point. I'm actually simply, this is a technique I've given you. And I'm stopping the technique now. The technique was to wait until everybody had filled in their forms. So I have not yet started. So IO3, it's being recorded. There is a technique for use with groups. It's recorded, I hope. How to use a story creatively to just give people something to listen to briefly, whilst people are, in this case, choosing their menu, but also making sure that the group is doing something. So now I start. The first thing, ladies and gentlemen, please switch your phones off. Please put your computers away. Please do not go to the internet or anything else just for the moment, because we want to concentrate on the work. How do we run group sessions creatively? Well, firstly, people have to have confidence to speak out, which Milena did then. That to speak out and to say, even when you are leading. So you have to create confidence with people. Never expect that you are right, even when you're telling people to do something. It's great, I got it wrong, which is perfect. That's a perfect example when the person facilitating the session does that. Secondly, so thank you very much, ladies and gents, for doing that. This session is about facilitation. So I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm going to give you some instructions, I hope, but I'm only going to give you instructions if you give me permission. I need your permission without you actually knowing exactly what's going to happen, but I need your permission for me to be able to issue commands and to tell you to do things. And if I do not have permission, I will not do them. Do I have your permission?
You have my permission.
Thank you. Good. Because I'm going to, in part of this session, I am going to be just driving you a little bit with time, because we don't want to be here forever listening to me. Okay. I'm going to ask you to break into groups. Now, I would like, it may not be possible, I would have loved 3 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not really. Group size, when working in groups, should be between 4 and 6. 4 and 7, but between 4 and 6 in a group. And then they're sometimes called breakout groups, because we leave this session and go into small groups.
Let's have 2 groups.
Hmm?
Let's have 2 groups.
We could have 2 groups, but 3 is the ideal. But we will have 2 groups. Yeah, we'll have 2 groups. If it is possible to have 2 groups, yeah, without being with another member of your nationality. Okay? And You see, Dana understands these, so is immediately doing it. That's my next point. Thank you, Dana. We've worked together on these before. The next point is, organise yourselves, please. Now, I would like to see a group over there and a group over here. And you need a piece of paper and a pen and one person who volunteers to act as scribe. Okay? This is what you wish to achieve as a facilitator, so that people are looking at each other, and you would. I don't think it matters, to be honest, but it would. But it's good not to have any obstruction between the people who are talking. All barriers, because we want people to be honest with each other, we remove barriers. So we remove desks, and we actually expose people to just sitting and being direct. I'm telling you without actually giving you direction. So the facilitator's job is to set tasks and to keep stumm and not to say. So I'm going to ask you one simple question. I'd be interested to see the answer. It'd be quite interesting. So it's a real question, but I'm not going to give you my opinion. That's irrelevant. What matters is what you think, and you've got to share it. Okay, the one question, and you will have 3 minutes. The scribe, please write down as much as possible during the 3 minutes. Do not question too much, just provide ideas. Don't argue, because there's a second part where you'll get a chance to do that. But 3 minutes is quite a long time for this question. And I've got the stopwatch here, so it's on really 3 minutes. What is the purpose of Erasmus Plus partnerships? Go. Yeah. I'm going to keep the session going because we don't want to waste too much time. Okay, you get a chance to go through this again. Now, that's stage 1. Okay, back to I'm giving you the information I wouldn't normally use, but just telling you what the process is. So the second part of this process is to look at what you've just written and to do a little bit, very simple analysis of what you've written down. And if I said to you, right, analyse what you've done, it doesn't mean anything. You might get somewhere, but it's usually necessary to give people some sort of instruction, to give them some sort of structure that helps them go through the process. So you don't actually tell them that they're doing analysis. You give them an instruction which means they've got to do the analysis. So I want you now to choose the 3 most important of those elements. And you've got another 3 minutes. Now this may involve it may involve argument, and that's fine. So it's another 3 minutes on choosing the 3 that you're going to tell other people about. Stop. Please freeze. Just freeze. This shows, look round now, just keep in your positions, just look round at the other group, but don't move, please, don't move. Just use your eyes to look at your head. When it's working, this is what happens. You immediately went into a huddle. Immediately. Both groups just went straight into it. That's a sign for the facilitator that something is happening. If you did the opposite, as facilitator, you may as well go and jump off the roof because it's not working. Thank you very much.
One minute.
Okay, can you stop, please? I'm not quite sure. I'm just wondering how to do this next bit. It's really only a matter of timing, and I'm just responding actually to what I'm seeing happening in this group. You were immediately ready. Actually, there was more going on here. You've only had 3 minutes. I'm going to change what I was going to do very slightly. I was only going to give you 1 minute for the next section, but I'm going to be very generous and give you 2 minutes. The timing matters. It makes people get on with it. If you just say you can do it in any length of time you like, then it just drifts. By putting a sharp timing in, of course it's not absolutely accurate. That doesn't matter. What we're trying to do is get some ideas from the whole group, which will then go on here, and if we wanted to, we could come back on another occasion and reconsider them. So these are not final answers. This isn't the final solution to an issue. It's just getting a position that we maybe have some common or agreement about, or maybe disagreement. We'll find out. You have 1 minute. Let me first of all ask you, that final point, is it a sentence that you've got? Is it a statement?
It's just one word.
Ah.
No, for us it's a sentence.
It's a sentence.
Right, because that was what I was picking up there. I was thinking the way you could move it a little stage further is you have to have one word. Well, they've done it, yeah. Okay, have we got a means of writing on this?
On the floor somewhere?
Ah, here they are. Okay, let's start with, we'll start with the, don't worry about the word now. Don't worry about it now, but what was this is the final one. What was the word? Hang on, they're not ready. The word? Cooperation. Two pieces of paper here. Okay. Yep. Do you want to write it? Does somebody want to write it? Yeah. Cooperation and mobility. Shall I do it in the American?
In America,
yeah. Okay, folks. This is for the cooperation and mobility of people around Europe for learning, job shadowing, and teaching. We didn't know, but there was one key word that you both used. They've produced just that, which leaves open all the categories. This group has introduced merely, this is all they've done, is to introduce categories. The question, and this is now me as the facilitator and just immediately musing on what you've done, this is what's interesting for me, and not the categories, but cooperation and mobility. That then has my brain going, do you have to have mobility in order to cooperate? And then I suppose the question goes back to the group Erasmus Plus. And that's a question mark I would have about the use of just one word. But that's not a criticism. It's just, it's only because I've seen it like that and like that. And so it's got me thinking. And that I will go, you can be certain, at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'll be lying in bed thinking, yeah, that's interesting. Cooperation and mobility. Now, we need to know what the three were. So if you would have a reporter, please. We've only got 2 pieces of... Oh, no, we've got more than two. So we've got that. We'll photograph that later. And I imagine it's on there. Yeah. So please will you report one person from each group on the three, and let's have the three things written down. We've got a red group and a green group.
Our three categories were sharing good practices and experiences, networking multiple cultures coming together for cooperation, and cooperation on mobility of people around Europe for learning, job shadowing, teaching, etc.
You have mozzarella white, tomato red, and basilico. You never think about that? Basilico.
Lifelong learning, also promotion of lifelong learning, mutual understanding of different cultures, I would say diversity, understanding of diversities, and cooperation between educational institutions.
No, something that we can say maybe is that the word cooperation is one of the most used inside the six sentences.
If you look at the top line, the red, what's interesting there is that it's a very practical, focused group. It's very specific, good practices, experiences, coming together, mobility, learning, job shadowing. Job shadowing is very specific. It's got a very specific meaning to it. Look at the green group, and they have approached it, they've looked at it in a much wider sense. And interestingly, they're the ones that only had one word. When you only have one word, you can attach many meanings to it. So we have a red group who are practical, definers, doers. You didn't realize the psychology of the groups would come out of this. I didn't. This is me just looking at it and thinking, gosh, there's some interesting stuff here. And then the other one, lifelong learning. Well, learning is there. Mutual understanding of different cultures. Diversity is the key word there. Cooperation. It's much wider. And who is right and who is wrong? Nobody. It's all correct. And that illustrates, the two things here illustrate precisely what Erasmus Plus is about. And you've said it, it's bringing together this diversity into some sort of practical structure. The details of the projects matter. The perfect example that I can think of this moment is the project of a practical project that really required a physical product was Dana's robots project. All the partners had to produce a physical object, a robot that worked. The real point of the project, though, was, as with these lists here, the red and the green, was to bring people together for mutual cooperation. But they couldn't do that unless they were actually doing the physical activity of making the robot. So the robot really mattered, but what mattered beyond the robot was the fact that people were coming together from the Czech Republic, from Northern Ireland, from Romania, from Italy, to share the experience and produce these things together and slightly in competition with each other. It gave it a little added edge. I understand, from what Dana told me, that the Romanians won.